Tonight, dry and warm weather have caused a number of fire risk warnings to be issued in the local areas.
It's a different landscape than our rain-drenched June. Aaron Stuvey reports on what those new warnings and restrictions mean.
A fall full of dry, warm weather has created a dangerous tail end to the year.
Could be something as little as the end of a cigarette that could ignite a fire. Now with these winds coming in, it's going to take nothing for that to spread.
The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning for much of Minnesota, meaning the combination of low humidity, winds, and temperatures have created the perfect storm for wildfires to break out and spread.
So a red flag warning just indicates that there's an elevated fire danger. And it also means that burning is really not advised.
The Blue Earth County Sheriff's Office has issued a burn ban to go alongside the red flag warning. The ban means that no burning permits for brush or large fires will be given out. Small enclosed campfires are still allowed, but not recommended, as the DNR says that fall wildfires can be far more dangerous than early year ones that were seen as recently as this past spring.
We have all of that dry vegetation after kind of this, the summer. We're going into fall, things are drying out naturally, but then you add in these warm temperatures, this below average, precipitation and low relative humidity, then we get that kind of ability for those fires to get bigger, faster, stronger.
Both the red flag warning and the burn ban will be in effect until conditions improve, which likely won't happen anytime soon. Aaron Stuvey, KEYC News Now.
The Superior National Forest is banning campfires there right now due to very dry conditions. That emergency order came out this afternoon amid extreme fire danger in northern Minnesota. Now, restrictions go into effect first thing tomorrow and will continue until further notice.